Have you ever imagined coming across someone who seems to be in a hopeless situation, only to suddenly discover something shocking that changes everything? In a gesture of generosity, a millionaire takes in a homeless man and his son in her garage, offering them temporary shelter. But what she discovers next goes beyond any expectation and reveals a terrifying truth. Get ready for a story of compassion, surprises, and revelations that will leave you breathless. Don't miss what happened next. You won't believe what was uncovered. If you haven't subscribed yet, sign up now so you don't miss any of our thrilling stories. Be sure to follow what we have prepared for you. Casual encounter. The morning was beginning calm and clear in the city, and Helena was enjoying what had become one of her favorite routines, her morning walks. With her comfortable sneakers and a light jacket, she felt refreshed and at peace, strolling through the tree-lined streets leading to the Central Park. Sunlight filtered through the leaves of the trees, creating patterns of light and shadow that danced on the asphalt. As she advanced through a less busy stretch of the street, a sudden and desperate scream caught her attention. Helena stopped immediately, her heart racing with the sense that something was wrong. As she approached, she saw a weary and dusty figure, with an appearance that suggested months, perhaps years, without proper care. It was a man with a face aged by suffering and struggle, and beside him, a small boy who looked even more fragile. The man, Tomas, had tired eyes and a hoarse voice, but there was a glimmer of hope in them as he addressed Helena. He was on his knees, with his hands outstretched in a gesture of pleading, while the boy, Gabriel, was crouched beside him, with large, frightened eyes reflecting the same hopelessness as his father. "Ma'am, please," Tomas pleaded, his voice almost a whisper, but laden with palpable desperation. "We haven't had food for days, and he has a fever. We have nowhere to go." Helena, moved by the situation, felt a pang in her heart. She knew she needed to act. Despite the fact that it was not common for her to interact with people in such extreme situations, something in the boy's frailty and Tomas's desolation deeply touched her. "Come on," Helena said in a gentle and encouraging tone. "I can help." She led them to her house, which was just a few minutes away. Helena's mansion, with its well-maintained gardens and imposing facade, seemed a shocking contrast to Tomas and Gabriel's precarious situation. However, her concern for their well-being overshadowed any thoughts about appearances. Helena's garage, a spacious and well-lit area, became the temporary shelter for the unexpected duo. She immediately called a food service to bring a hot meal. While they waited, Helena provided blankets and clean clothes for Tomas and Gabriel. The garage walls, which typically served to store tools and supplies, were now transformed into a temporary refuge, albeit a bit improvised. Helena watched with a mix of sadness and hope as Tomas and Gabriel settled in. Tomas, with a look of gratitude and relief, began to share a bit about his situation. He revealed that, after losing his job and home in a series of tragic events, he had been forced to live on the streets with his young son. Gabriel, still looking pale and tired, began to relax slowly, especially when the food arrived. The expression of relief on Gabriel's face as he ate the warm meal brought a sense of satisfaction to Helena. The warmth of the moment and the connection she felt while helping were profound, creating an emotional bond that transcended mere assistance. As Tomas and Gabriel settled in the garage, Helena realized that an unexpected journey was beginning. The casual encounter that had started with a simple morning walk was about to turn into something much more significant, changing not only Tomas and Gabriel's lives but also Helena's. Initial welcome. After the warm reception in Helena's garage, a new chapter began for Tomas and Gabriel. The atmosphere in the garage, though a bit cold and impersonal, was about to become a cozy refuge. Helena, with a generous heart and agile hands, set about preparing the meal she had promised. She went to the kitchen, and as the aroma of the hot dish began to fill the room, her thoughts were focused on the situation of the two newcomers. Tomas and Gabriel were sitting in a corner of the garage where Helena had arranged some blankets and cushions. Gabriel, still with eyes full of fatigue, looked around with curiosity and a bit of apprehension. Tomas, on the other hand, seemed deeply relieved, but the worry never left his face. When Helena entered with an improvised table laden with hot food, the look of gratitude in Tomas's eyes was unmistakable. "Here's the food," Helena said, placing the dishes on a small table she had set up in the center of the garage. "I hope you like it." It's a bit simple, but it's made with care. Tomas and Gabriel began eating with a ravenous appetite, and the silence that had previously hung over them was replaced by a murmur of satisfaction. The warmth of the soup and the softness of the bread seemed almost magical after the hard days they had endured. Helena watched intently, her heart warmed by the sight of the two beginning to recover a bit. After the meal, as Gabriel settled into a corner with a new blanket, Helena pulled up a chair and sat next to Tomas, determined to learn more about his story. The garage, now illuminated by the soft light of a lamp, seemed less austere and more like a space of comfort and hope. "Tomas," Helena began softly, "I would like to know more about you and Gabriel. How did you end up in this situation?" Tomas took a deep breath, his eyes filled with deep melancholy. He started to recount his story with a sincerity that touched the heart. He revealed that, a few years ago, he was a respected university professor, teaching mathematics and physics at a renowned institution. His life seemed perfect, with a brilliant career and a promising future. But tragedy began to unfold in an unexpected way. "Everything changed," he said with a distant look, "when my wife fell gravely ill. We tried everything to treat her, but the cost of the treatments was devastating. I spent every penny I had, and eventually, even with the support of colleagues in the university, the debts piled up. The treatment was not enough, and she passed away." Tomas paused, wiping away a tear that had slipped down his cheek. Gabriel, noticing the sadness on his father's face, went over and hugged him, and Tomas continued, "After that, my life fell apart. I lost my job due to prolonged absence and my financial conditions. The university could no longer keep me, and over time my house was taken by creditors. Gabriel and I started wandering the streets, with nowhere to go." Helena listened attentively, her heart aching at Tomas's pain. His story was not just a series of unfortunate events, but a sequence of losses that had transformed a successful life into a struggle for survival. As she listened to the narrative, Helena felt even more determined to help, understanding that there was more to Tomas than just the appearance of a beggar. "You mentioned something about mathematics and physics," Helena said, trying to shift the conversation to a more positive topic. "What exactly were you working on?" Tomas smiled sadly, a glimmer of pride mixed with sorrow in his eyes. "I was working on a mathematical formula, something that could have significant implications for science. But, with everything that happened, I never managed to publish it or get support to continue the research." The revelation left Helena intrigued and, at the same time, more convinced that Tomas had something valuable to offer the world. She got up and went to a small cabinet in the garage, where there were some office supplies she used occasionally. "Perhaps we can find a way to help you resume your work," Helena said with an encouraging tone. "First, let's ensure that you and Gabriel have a more comfortable place to stay while we figure out the next steps." With that, Helena began to rearrange the garage to make it a more suitable and comfortable space, while Tomas and Gabriel settled in and started to feel a bit more at home. Helena, Tomas, and Gabriel's journey was just beginning, but hope was already beginning to sprout amid the difficulties. Developing the relationship. As the weeks went by, Helena's garage transformed into a true temporary home for Tomas and Gabriel. The space, once plain and utilitarian, was now filled with small touches that brought unexpected comfort. Helena had added colorful cushions, light curtains, and even some toys for Gabriel, who began to smile more frequently. The relationship between Helena and her new occupants grew in a deep and sincere manner. Helena was no longer just a benefactor. She began to feel like part of Tomas and Gabriel's family. Each day, upon arriving at the garage, was a moment of discovery and connection. Helena dedicated time to help Gabriel with his homework and play games he loved, while Tomas often found himself in long and deep conversations with Helena about their lives and dreams. On a sunny morning, Helena was preparing breakfast when Gabriel ran into the kitchen, holding a colorful drawing he had made. The drawing was simple but full of life. A happy family with the sun shining above. Gabriel, with bright eyes, handed the drawing to Helena with a shy smile. "For you, Helena," Gabriel said, his voice filled with childish pride. Helena looked at the drawing, moved, and stroked Gabriel's hair. "It's wonderful, Gabriel. Thank you so much. I'll put this on the garage wall so everyone can see." Meanwhile, Tomas was adjusting to the new routine with some relief. He spent hours reviewing his old notes and trying to reorganize his thoughts to resume his research. Helena, observing his dedication, decided to offer more substantial support. She understood that Tomas was not just a man in distress, but someone with immense potential that life had unjustly taken from him. "Tomas," Helena began one quiet afternoon, "I would like to know more about your research. What exactly were you working on?" Tomas looked up from the notebook where he was writing, a mix of hope and hesitation in his eyes. It was a mathematical formula that could revolutionize the way we understand certain concepts in physics. It wasn't something small, but something that could have a great impact. Helena listened attentively, her curiosity and respect for Tomas growing with each word. She knew he was talking about something much more complex than she could fully understand, but she felt he had genuine talent and a passion for science that deserved a chance. She decided to seek help for Tomas, reaching out to former colleagues and experts who could help him recover lost time and publish his research. The relationship between Helena and Tomas deepened not only because of the practical help she offered, but also because of how emotionally involved she became. She started to become a true friend to Tomas, someone he could trust and share his fears and hopes with. Their conversations became moments of vulnerability and mutual support. One night, as Tomas and Helena talked on an improvised sofa in the garage, Tomas revealed a personal detail he had kept for a long time. He spoke about the loss of his wife and the devastating impact it had on his life and Gabriel's. Helena, moved by the depth of Tomas's pain, felt a pang in her heart. "You know," Helena said softly, "sometimes life takes us to places we didn't expect, but it is in moments like these that we discover strength we didn't know we had. And honestly, I believe that you and Gabriel have incredible strength." Tomas smiled, the sparkle of gratitude in his eyes, and felt a lightness for the first time in a long while. He was starting to see Helena not just as someone who offered him temporary shelter, but as a true friend and ally in his journey. As Gabriel began to adapt to the new routine and attend a local school with Helena's support, Tomas found himself rejuvenated by renewed hope. Helena and Gabriel had become a constant and encouraging presence in his life, and although the situation was still challenging, the sense that there was a future to build became more tangible each day. The relationship that had begun with a simple act of charity had transformed into a deep and meaningful connection. Helena was not just welcoming Tomas and Gabriel, she was also starting to see herself as an essential part of their lives, and they in turn were becoming an important part of hers. The garage, once merely a shelter, was now a space of hope, friendship, and a new beginning. Secret revealed. The relationship between Helena, Tomas, and Gabriel continued to strengthen, and the weeks passed with a steady flow of small moments of joy and discovery. The garage, which had once seemed like just a temporary space, was now imbued with the warmth and life of the small family. Helena and Tomas had developed a bond that transcended material help, and Helena's dedication to supporting Tomas in his scientific work began to show signs of progress. On a rainy afternoon, when the sound of rain hitting the garage windows created a peaceful and reflective atmosphere, Tomas was sitting at the table, reviewing his notes and trying to organize his ideas. Helena, who had become a regular visitor to the garage, decided to sit next to him to offer some companionship and encouragement. "How is the work going?" Helena asked with a friendly smile as she looked at the papers scattered across the table. Tomas looked up, a mix of frustration and hope in his eyes. "I'm trying to make up for lost time, but it's difficult. Without the equipment and resources I had before, everything seems a bit limited." Helena noticed the emotional weight Tomas carried, and felt it was the right moment to understand more deeply what he had truly lost. She knew there was more to the story than Tomas had shared so far and decided to dig deeper, giving him space to talk more about his past. "Tomas," Helena began with a gentle voice, "I would like to know more about what you were working on before all of this happened. What did it really mean to you?" Tomas hesitated for a moment, his gaze distant as if he was reliving a painful memory. Finally, he took a deep breath and began to speak, his voice heavy with a mix of pride and sadness. "When I was still a professor, I was developing a mathematical formula that could have changed the way we understand physics. It was something revolutionary, something that could open doors to new discoveries and scientific advancements. The formula was complex and challenging, but I was convinced it was a significant breakthrough." He stopped to adjust his notes, his hands trembling slightly as he scanned the calculations. "I had hopes of publishing my work and making a meaningful contribution to science. But when my wife fell ill and everything began to fall apart, I lost the ability to continue my research. Without access to the necessary resources and with my life in ruins, I never managed to complete the work the way I had dreamed. The silence that followed was heavy and laden with emotion. Helena, touched by Tomas's vulnerability, felt the weight of the loss and frustration he had carried for so long. She saw beyond the figure of a beggar and perceived the true potential and pain of a man who had been unjustly brought down by circumstances. "Tomas," Helena said with a determined and encouraging tone, "what you're telling me is truly incredible. If this formula is as significant as you believe, then we must find a way to bring it to light." Tomas looked at Helena, his eyes shining with a new spark of hope. "Do you really think that's possible? I no longer have access to the equipment or scientific support needed to validate my work." Helena smiled and placed a reassuring hand on Tomas's shoulder. "We'll find out. I have contacts in the scientific community, and with what you already have, perhaps we can find a way to rebuild and complete your research. You deserve a chance to show the world what you can truly achieve." This promise of support renewed Tomas's determination. He began to share more details about his formula and discoveries with Helena, explaining the complexities and implications of his work. The conversation between them was no longer about despair, but about possibilities and new beginnings. Meanwhile, Gabriel, watching from a distance, began to notice the change in the atmosphere around his father. The garage, now filled with hope and new perspectives, was more than just a shelter. It was a place where dreams were beginning to be rebuilt. The revelation of Tomas's secret and Helena's commitment to helping him change the dynamics of their lives. The garage, once a symbol of hardship, was now becoming a center of resurrection and transformation. Helena was not only helping Tomas and Gabriel find a new beginning, but also discovering the depth of human potential often obscured by adversity. The road ahead was filled with challenges, but now, with the strength of determination and Helena's support, Tomas was ready to face whatever came next. Their story was far from over. In fact, it was just beginning. Helena's decision, the revelation of Tomas's secret, was a profound milestone in the lives of everyone involved. Helena, now aware of Tomas's untapped potential and the impact his formula could have on the world, felt motivated to do more than just offer temporary shelter. She wanted to provide Tomas with the opportunity to recover what he had lost and to realize his deferred dream. The morning after the revealing conversation, Helena woke up with a new determination. The sun was beginning to light up the sky, casting a soft glow over the garden of the house where Helena lived. She was resolved to transform the garage, which had previously served merely as an improvised shelter, into a space where Tomas could work and focus on publishing his formula. The idea of turning the garage into a dedicated office seemed not only practical but also a tangible form of support and hope. Helena started the day with a clear list of actions. With her iPad in hand, she made detailed notes about what needed to be done. The garage required a major renovation. New paint, proper lighting, furniture that offered comfort and functionality, and perhaps even some basic office equipment. She wanted to create an environment where Tomas could feel inspired and supported in his journey. With the plan in mind, Helena went to the city planning office to obtain permission for the modifications. It was a bureaucratic process, but Helena was determined. While waiting to be attended, she reflected on what she was about to do. The decision to invest time and money in renovating the garage was not just a gesture of charity. It was an affirmation that Tomas had value, and that his work was important. Helena wanted Tomas to know that she believed in him. After obtaining the necessary permits, Helena began purchasing materials for the renovation. She chose light-colored paints for the walls, believing that this would make the space more inviting and stimulating. She bought a large office desk, an ergonomic chair, and a shelf to organize books and papers. Additionally, she acquired a good lighting source, important for Tomas to work at night if needed. During the renovation process, Helena got personally involved. She spent her mornings at the hardware store, and her afternoons organizing the space. Gabriel, though young, helped enthusiastically, painting small details and tidying up the space alongside Helena. Their collaboration turned the work into a family activity that was both comforting and productive. As the garage began to transform into a functional office, Helena also made sure to communicate her intentions to Tomas. One Saturday afternoon, after a day of hard work, Helena gathered Tomas and Gabriel in the garage, now partially renovated. Tomas, Gabriel, Helena began with a smile. I wanted to show you what I've been planning. It's not just a renovation. It's a new chance. She opened the garage door to reveal the space. The freshly painted walls shone under the new lighting, and the furniture was carefully arranged. Tomas and Gabriel were stunned, their eyes wide with a mixture of surprise and gratitude. Helena, this is amazing, Tomas exclaimed, his voice laden with emotion. I don't even know how to thank you. Helena approached Tomas and placed a comforting hand on his shoulder. No need to thank me. Just do your best. I believe in your work and want you to have all the tools you need to succeed. This is your space now. Tomas sat at the new desk, touching the surface with a look of reverence. He felt that Helena's gesture was not just physical support, but a demonstration of faith in his potential. Gabriel ran to the new shelf and began organizing the books and materials, eager to see his father work in his new environment. In the following days, Tomas threw himself into his work. The new office provided the ideal environment for him to focus on his formula and work on the necessary publications. Helena continued to visit regularly, offering encouragement and helping with any additional resources Tomas might need. The transformation process not only renewed the physical space, but also brought new energy and hope to everyone involved. Helena had made a decision that would change lives, and the impact of this gesture was beginning to manifest in tangible and inspiring ways. The garage, once a mere shelter, was now becoming a symbol of new life and opportunities. Tomas and Gabriel were on a new path, with the certainty that, with Helena's support and belief, they were closer to turning their dreams into reality. Their story was far from over. On the contrary, it was expanding in ways that everyone could have only imagined. The disaster. It was a fresh, sunny morning when Helena and Gabriel arrived at the garage to continue transforming the space into an office. The renovation was going very well, with the new paint fresh and the furniture being carefully assembled. Tomas was focused on organizing his papers and materials, now that the new space was beginning to take shape. The mood was optimistic, and the atmosphere was filled with anticipation and hope. Helena was particularly excited that day, as she planned to add finishing touches to the office, such as a small reading area with some comfortable chairs and a coffee table to make the space more inviting. Gabriel was helping by moving boxes and organizing the books that had been donated by Helena. The positive energy was palpable, and everyone was eager to see the new space finally completed. However, while Helena adjusted the new lighting and Gabriel began to organize the office items, something unexpected happened. A strong, strange odor began to fill the air. Helena looked around, trying to identify the source of the smell, but saw nothing out of the ordinary. The odor, however, was intensifying rapidly. Suddenly, a small amount of smoke began to rise from the corner of the garage where Tomas had stored his boxes and papers. Helena rushed to the spot and, to her horror, saw small flames starting to spread over some of the stacked boxes. At first, it was a manageable fire, but the situation quickly escalated. Fire! Helena shouted, panic evident in her voice. Gabriel, get out of here now! Gabriel, with his eyes wide with fear, ran out of the garage, followed by Helena. She, with her heart racing, grabbed her phone and called the fire department, describing the situation urgently. The flames were spreading quickly, and Helena knew she didn't have much time. While waiting for the firefighters to arrive, Helena attempted to use a fire extinguisher she had in the garage. Unfortunately, the fire was beyond the extinguisher's control and continued to grow, engulfing the new furniture and the carefully prepared materials. The heat was intense, and the smoke began to fill the garage, making visibility increasingly difficult. When the firefighters finally arrived, they worked quickly to contain the blaze. The garage, which had once been full of hope and enthusiasm, was now in ruins. The flames were extinguished, but the destruction was evident. The space was filled with ashes and debris, and many of the items Helena had acquired were completely destroyed. With the fire finally out, Helena and Gabriel entered the garage to assess the damage. It was then that Helena made a shocking discovery. Among the debris, she found several boxes that Tomas had tried to hide under a pile of burned papers. Curious and concerned, Helena opened one of the boxes and found valuable documents and personal items that clearly did not belong there. Inside the boxes were old papers, some with formulas and complex mathematical calculations, as well as Tomas's personal documents. It was evident that these documents were not just trash or worthless items. There were detailed notes and references indicating that Tomas had tried to keep this information secret. Tomas appeared in the garage, his face pale and his hands trembling. He looked at what was left of the space with deep sadness. When he saw Helena examining the boxes, his expression turned to one of shame. "Helena, Tomas began, his voice faltering. "I should have told you. These documents are from my previous work. I didn't want you to see them like this." Helena, still stunned, looked at Tomas. "Tomas, why did you hide this? What's going on?" Tomas sat on a piece of furniture that had not been destroyed and began to explain. "I didn't want to worry you. These documents are part of the work I was doing before I lost everything. I thought I might recover what I had lost one day. But for now, I didn't know how to deal with it. I was afraid that if you saw them, you might think I'm unreliable." Helena sat next to him, her expression softening as she listened. "Tomas, I trust you. I understand that you are going through a difficult time, and that's why I'm here to help. We'll get through this together." The firefighters finished clearing the debris and began assessing the damage. Helena and Tomas, though devastated, were determined to move forward. The disaster had been a harsh blow, but it had also revealed the true depth of Tomas's situation and the challenges he was facing. Helena knew that despite the destruction, there was a chance to rebuild. The situation was tough, but the trust and support she offered Tomas were stronger than any obstacle they might encounter. With the commitment to help Tomas rebuild not only the space but also his life, Helena and Gabriel prepared to face the upcoming challenges, confident that together they could turn the ashes into new hopes and opportunities. The garage might have been destroyed, but the spirit of collaboration and determination to move forward was more alive than ever. The impact of the fire. The day after the fire brought a heavy, uncomfortable silence. The garage, which had been a symbol of renewed hope for Tomas and Gabriel, was now a desolate, ruined space. Helena and Tomas faced the devastation, observing the destruction with a sense of helplessness and sorrow. Helena, still processing the emotional impact of the fire, felt a weight on her chest. The energy that had once filled the garage was now replaced by a sense of loss and desolation. The ashes scattered across the floor and debris seemed to represent not just physical destruction, but also the shaking of the hopes and dreams that had been built with so much effort. Tomas, with a somber expression, walked slowly through the rubble. His eyes were red and swollen, not only from the smoke but from the pain of losing something precious. He crouched down and began to separate what remained of the burned boxes and documents, trying to salvage anything that could be recovered. Helena approached him, her gaze fixed on the destruction. She knew she needed to be strong, but the weight of the situation was beginning to feel overwhelming. Suddenly, Tomas turned to her, holding a partially burned piece of paper. "Helena," Tomas said, his voice trembling, "these burned documents, they contained the mathematical formula I had developed. All the work I did over the years was there. Now it's all lost." The revelation hit like a bombshell. Helena felt paralyzed, the magnitude of the loss becoming increasingly clear. The formula, which could have changed science, was now irretrievably destroyed. She looked at Tomas, her heart aching with the pain and despair he was experiencing. "Tomas," Helena tried to console him, "I'm so sorry. This is devastating. But we need to think about what to do now. Is there any chance to rebuild the work? Is there any way we can recover what was lost?" Tomas shook his head, frustration and discouragement evident on his face. "I don't know. I had recorded many of the details in a formula that I always kept secure. It was the only copy I had, and now it's destroyed. Without it, it will be like starting from scratch." Helena felt a wave of despair but also a spark of determination. What to do in the face of such a tragedy? The decision was in her hands, to start over or to give up. The impact of the fire was clear, but the choice of how to move forward was something Helena needed to make. Amid the devastation, Helena made a difficult decision. She knew that giving up was not an option if she wanted to help Tomas. She looked at him, her eyes showing the strength and determination she felt inside. "Tomas, we can't give up. Yes, what happened is horrible and the loss is immense, but we still have a chance. We can try to rebuild what was lost, even if it's difficult. The formula may no longer be here, but the knowledge and passion you have were not destroyed. We'll start from scratch if necessary. I'm here to help in any way I can. Tomas looked at Helena with a mixed expression of hope and disbelief. Her determination was a light in the darkness, an indication that the journey still had a purpose. Although the idea of starting over seemed overwhelming, the prospect of having someone by his side gave him new encouragement. The following days were a true test of endurance. Helena and Tomas began working tirelessly to clear the debris and assess what could be salvaged. They rebuilt the garage with a renewed sense of urgency and purpose, and Helena started seeking ways to fund the new phase of the project, making contacts and raising funds. Meanwhile, Tomas, supported by Helena, began to reconstruct what he could remember of the formula and the lost calculations. He revisited his old notes and made new calculations, trying to rebuild the work that had been lost. Each day was a struggle, and each small progress was a victory over the sadness and despair that had settled in. The impact of the fire had been devastating, but it also served as a catalyst for a new determination. Helena and Tomas were now united in a journey of reconstruction, facing challenges and obstacles with renewed strength. The disaster had tested their resilience but had also reinforced their bond, showing that even in the darkest situations, there was room for hope and recovery. Their story did not end with the fire. On the contrary, the tragedy had opened a new chapter, one where strength, friendship, and determination became the foundation for rebuilding the future. The garage, once a symbol of loss, now represented a new opportunity for a fresh start. And as they faced the challenge of rebuilding what was lost, Helena and Tomas were ready to prove that, even in the face of the greatest adversities, hope and courage could prevail. Rebirth and reconciliation. After the devastating fire, the path ahead seemed filled with rubble and insurmountable challenges. But Helena and Tomas did not let themselves be discouraged. Together, they were determined to rebuild not only the garage but also their lives and hopes. With the support of friends, Helena began to mobilize resources. She contacted her network, organized a fundraising campaign, and obtained donations to help finance the reconstruction. Every contribution, no matter how small, was a spark of hope amid the darkness that had hovered over them. The garage, once a devastated space, began to take shape again. The transformation was meticulous and full of symbolism. Workers and volunteers, driven by Tomas's cause and Helena's example of determination, collaborated to restore the space. The old garage was redesigned to be a suitable workspace, with a small office and a dedicated work area for Tomas. As the construction progressed, Tomas devoted himself intensely to recovering the lost work. Using the fragmented notes he had managed to salvage and consulting old colleagues, he rewrote the mathematical formula that had been consumed by the flames. Each day was a battle against time and frustration, but Tomas found a new source of motivation in the friendship and support of Helena. Helena, in turn, stayed by Tomas's side every step of the way. She not only helped with the physical reconstruction of the garage, but also provided emotional support. They spent nights discussing the details of the formula, facing project challenges, and keeping hope alive. Their collaboration transformed the garage into a symbol of renewal and resilience, a physical representation of the effort and dedication they were both putting into their fresh start. Finally, after months of hard work, Tomas's mathematical formula was submitted to a prestigious scientific journal. The publication of the formula was not only a scientific achievement, but also a testament to Tomas and Helena's effort and determination. The news of the publication spread quickly through the academic community, bringing recognition and a new perspective for Tomas's future. The impact of the publication was significant. Tomas received invitations to lectures and conferences, and his formula became the focus of future research. He was given a new lease on life, something that had seemed impossible after the fire. Doors opened for him in ways he had never imagined, offering opportunities that had once seemed out of reach. The friendship between Helena and Tomas deepened throughout this process. They became more than just friends. They were partners in a journey that had tested their strength and strengthened their bond. Helena saw in Tomas not only a former university professor, but a man with incredible resilience and a passion for what he did. Tomas, in turn, deeply appreciated Helena's unwavering kindness and support. Gabriel, the young boy who had been one of the initial reasons for Helena's offer of help, also found a new perspective. He grew up surrounded by an environment of hope and overcoming challenges. With Helena and Tomas's support, Gabriel had access to better educational opportunities, and more importantly, grew up believing that even in the most difficult situations, there was always a chance to start over and find happiness. The story of Helena, Tomas, and Gabriel is a testament to the strength of determination and human kindness. The rebirth of the garage was more than just a physical reconstruction. It was the creation of a new future full of possibilities and hope. United by a common purpose, Helena and Tomas managed to turn a tragic event into an opportunity for growth and renewal. And Gabriel, with his new outlook of hope and a promising future, symbolized the realization that even in the face of the greatest adversities, the strength of the human spirit can prevail. Thus, the garage, now completely rebuilt and transformed, became a place of inspiration, where every corner told the story of resilience and friendship. And as Helena, Tomas, and Gabriel continued to write their own stories, they did so with the certainty that, even in the worst storms, there is always a light at the end of the tunnel, a chance to be reborn, and an opportunity to create a bright future. The story of Helena, Tomas, and Gabriel teaches us a powerful lesson about human resilience and the impact of solidarity. Even in the face of the most intense adversities, determination and friendship can transform tragedies into new opportunities. The fire that seemed to have destroyed all hope ended up being the catalyst for a rebirth full of promises and achievements. If you found inspiration in this journey of overcoming and renewal, subscribe to our channel for more exciting and motivating stories. Join us and follow stories that showcase the power of hope and solidarity in real life. Leave your comment and share your own stories of resilience with us.